Hola amigas and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about a topic that, at times I think has been bothering all of us, is when you're really into reading and then you get into a reading slump and then you feel like you never want to read again in your life. And even books that normally would excite you just meh, why would I even start it? So today I thought I would give you 5 tips how I combat my reading slumps and how I find the motivation to read again. So let's get started. My first tip is to choose a very easy book to read. And that could be because it's just super short, maybe even a short story, a short novel. What I always go for is a book in my native language, not necessarily short, but definitely very easy to read. Also, even if you're already usually reading in your native language, you can still kind of change the difficulty of the language by just reading some YA novels, some middle grade books, just going back all the way to children's books. It doesn't matter, just find something that's super easy to read. You will read a chapter in a minute. It will feel so good. You will be so proud of yourself for reading. So I can only recommend this. Choose something easy, something simple to read, and then just trying to get through that first. My second tip is to read when you literally have basically no other option, because there's nothing to do. And I don't mean at home, where there's always the option to watch Netflix or just scroll through your phone, but maybe situations where you can't be on your phone all the time. Maybe you're running out of battery. That's always very helpful. Just keep a book ready in your purse, like a small book, and try to read it when you're commuting to work, for example. You don't have anything to do. You can read it at the train station before you even get onto your train. And what I always really find a good good reading spot in a way is the doctor's office, because it's super quiet. I feel too ashamed to be on my phone all the time because the old ladies will just shame you with their looks. So I like to just have a small book that I can read while I wait for my appointment. Not recommending you should make a doctor's appointment to start reading, but if you have one anyway, just take a book. It's very easy to read. Okay, my third tip is to just ignore every book you have. Ignore your TBR, no matter how big it is and how intimidating it might seem, and you will feel so guilty buying another book, but just do it. Just buy a book you really always wanted to read, maybe a book that was too expensive for you, and just spend this money on it. Treat yourself to this book, and then if you're spending 30 euros on a new hardcover, you might feel way more motivated to read it, just because otherwise your conscience will be why did you buy it? It's so expensive. Yeah, get something you're very excited about, no matter the cost. Just get it and start it. My fourth tip is to just reread something you already know, and not just something you've just read at some point, but really an old favorite. Let's say it's Harry Potter, easy to read, it's written for children or teenagers. Probably most of us have read it in our lifetimes and loved it. And it's just always fun to just go back to their adventures. You already know what's coming. You don't need to be tense or worried about having an uncertain ending if you're not into that kind of thing. You just have the certainty and comfort of reading something you already know you love. And sometimes it just gets me the right motivation to also start reading new books again. And sometimes I have to admit I don't reread an old book completely, but I just skim it. I just read my favorite parts, rediscover the fun that I had reading it, and then I'm way more motivated to keep going on. My fifth and last tip is to get held accountable by your friends or your partner. Just either by just telling them tell me to read something, or just check in if I'm reading something. If you're into that sort of pressure to read thing, if you thrive under pressure, maybe that's for you. But what I can recommend is to just choose a book that you read along with someone else. Just talk to your best friend, or talk to someone who has the same taste in book as you, and say, okay, let's buy a book together. Well, of course 2 individual copies, but you will both own one. And then just say, okay, in a week we will read at least first 100 pages and we can discuss it, or like even more, set some goals and say, yeah, this month I will read this. Join a book club, like if you're into that. I think it holds you less accountable, like if it's not a very small club where you're just kind of like floating along in the background. You don't really have this kind of system, but if you just have one person whom you promise to that you will read this book, then you will do it, or your friendship might suffer. No, but I think it's a great way to also, just because we all love talking about books. So anyway, so I think I can definitely recommend it, even if you're not in a reading slump. Just go on and read along with someone else. So there you have it. These were my 5 tips to get out of the reading slump and get back out there and start reading again, start loving it again. So I hope these tips were somewhat helpful for you. Maybe not all of them, but maybe you found one tip that you would like to try. So please tell me how it went for you, and also what tips and tricks you are using to get out of your reading slump. Because to be honest, lately I felt it coming on and sneaking up to me and trying to hit me again. So let me know how you deal with it, and yeah, if you have any recommendations or stuff you would like to see from me, let me know in the comments below as well. Otherwise, I see you next time. Thank you for watching and goodbye!